let's just keep shooting this shit. But now we're rolling.
All right.
Now this will be edited. Everything we say is not going into the edit.
Do I have to watch my mouth throughout? Is it G-rated vocals?
Nope. You do whatever. Um, what the when I release the two, if we do swear in the PG version of Switchcraft, I will beep stuff. In
Sure.
the full edit of Josh and Jason, there will be no editing.
It'll be as is. All right.
You know what? You're my first one of the year, and
Oh,
we're getting down to the wire because I am going to be cutting this like a maniac for the next 48 hours. This comes out on Sunday, the 29th. So Switchcraft is going to be our pilot of All Celebrity Requests
wow. Love it.
2026. And this might seem weird. I mean, all people think I'm weird, but I am so glad you're my first one. And we don't know each other that well. We've kind of been like pen pals for a couple weeks, but there is some reason I was just talking to my old assistant, and I said I am so glad Josh is first because a lot of people are. Well, no, I don't want to say that because that I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but some people can be standoffish, and you are the opposite of standoffish. Like you even helped me with the Arizona time zones. You're like, let's do it at 2 o'clock. That'll be two my time,
Three
three
o'clock
o'clock
your
your
time.
3 o'clock your time. And so I don't know. There was you put my mind at ease, which is pretty cool.
Well, I think we probably are the same type of person. I mean, you're a collector of films. You're a connoisseur of films. I've loved films since I was a kid. I was shooting movies on a GAF 8mm camera when I was 12, and just like never stopped. So I think we can kind of relate on that level. You know, equal beings in the planet, kind
I
of thing.
agree. I agree with that. And what a cool way to kind of kick this off. Your old Super 8 films are fantastic.
You saw him?
Yeah, and weren't you like 10 to I think it said it in the
Yeah, it was like
opening title card,
10,
10 to
11,
50.
12, somewhere around there. It's hard to
Yeah, it
remember
was
now, but
that
yeah,
is so crazy.
they were all disaster movies too. Either disaster movies. There's one that I never could find again called Possessed, which was the takeoff on The Exorcist.
Oh
So that was
man.
1972 that came out. Then I was 10 years old. So yeah, 10.
The first one Crash, I believe. There's like the Crash, the Avalanche, the Bionic Boy.
The
Uh,
Earth.
there was 4 or 5 of them, but I was so blown away that I'm like, that's you. You literally have. Okay, here's like a weird compliment. Especially nowadays, you see a lot of people that get into film and video that just want to be famous. And maybe that drive, they keep getting better and better and better. They're driven individuals, whatever. But some people have it like built into them. And I think you have, whether it be filmmaking or video production, storytelling with a camera, whatever you want to call that. I feel like that is built into you.
I think you totally hit the nail on the head. It's like I live, breathe it. Well, it did in my day anyway. Now it's retired. It's a little different. Now I kind of get that sort of writing and storytelling out with the blogs I do for Bijou. But
Mm.
all of my younger life up until my 40s and into early 50s, it was all about filmmaking for me. It's
Yeah.
definitely my drive. And
And
I was very lucky that with Catalina, we didn't always see eye to eye as to what I should make a movie about. Where my producer would be sending me to Arrowhead Lake to shoot a movie about college jocks, and I would come back with a slasher movie called Sexual Suspect, and he wouldn't even know until it was released on VHS, and he had to watch it, and he'd get all over my shit. But so I was lucky in the respect that Catalina, because I was making these sort of off kilter movies throughout my career, because they were popular, because the sex was really good in them and shot really well, they never gave me any censorship about, oh, don't make a movie about that, or don't make a movie about this, or don't do Switchcraft where Shishi LaRue is a witch and she bends over and blows out a fart and it blows two guys across the room and against the wall. Don't do that. They never said that to me. So I kind of always felt like I could just do whatever I wanted, which was
That,
like a real gift in this industry.
uh-huh. That is so cool. And we should talk about Switchcraft, but one last thing about the films, that is such a flex nowadays. Ever since you've heard the story a bazillion times about Steven Spielberg made Super 8 movies in his backyard. And then it became a thing like J.J. Abrams, I made Super 8 films in my backyard. And there's a whole list. I'm not going to list them all, but so many people said, I made Super 8 films in my backyard. And indeed, you, Josh, made Super 8 films in your backyard.
I did.
And they were good. They were the first time it cut to that window, and there's like water sloshing, and there's attention to detail. You got cutaways, reaction shots, B-roll, uh, uh, cotton ball clouds. I'm like, dude,
Oh,
he
oh,
is miniatures. I'm like, he is going all out.
I totally got into it. I totally got into it. And I would just absorb. I'd go see movies when I was a kid, and I would just absorb the imagery. For some reason, I've always had that kind of photogenic mind where I would focus on the angles, I would focus on the lighting, I would focus on how they shot this or how it made me feel from a particular angle. And I was kind of just, that's what I responded to. So that's kind of how I would, work that into my filmmaking down the road. But yeah, those are pretty detailed. They make good trailers. Not such good movies in full, but they make good trailers.
Well, that's a great segue into why we're here today, which is Switchcraft.
You mean Switchcraft?
Yeah.
G-rated, G-rated box. I won't show you the back.
Okay, good. Switchcraft, 1999. So before we jump into the movie, we're going to stick on filmmaking real fast because this is about to be, I have cut 319 features, which I love it when people find that out, when they see so many people find Squeaky Clean Adult Films and they're like, one of the first things anyone ever says is, oh, these are clever. And then the second thing they say is, oh, you should do Hot Honey. And then I just laugh and say, I've done Hot Honey. I've done 319 of these.
That's amazing.
But what I'm getting to is that this is episode 320. I've cut 319 of them, and you have cut one.
Oh, that's right.
You're the first. You're the first person ever, which I think I've been bragging about this all week to people. That I like to be known as kind of an experimental artist. And so I loved anytime I get a chance to do something new. And when you said, oh, well, first of all, this is your third time on the show. You shot and produced Morewood Contractors. You, of course, wrote and directed and everything, produced, edited Boy Band.
Boy Band, yeah.
And now we have Switchcraft. But, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Which is kind of par for the course. So editing. I got cut off. I cut myself off by saying it's your third time on the show.
Third time on the show. This is the first time you're not cutting the G-rated piece.
So yeah, that's what I was. I said, oh, I like to do something new. And so I've been bragging all week that, holy crap, Josh cut this movie. Oh, this is what I was getting at. I have brought this up before. That's why I said you've been on the show 3 times. I've brought this up before that you make your own. I mean, for this example, I'm going to call them Squeaky Clean Adult Films or PG. You make your own clean cuts for YouTube. You have an active YouTube, which you take your wonderful films of the past, and of course you can't show them on YouTube.
No.
Believe me, sex is the enemy. I could show horror. I could go way harder in the horror section than I could go in the sex section.
Yeah.
YouTube. there's times where I feel, and this is going to sound ego based, but there's times where I feel like I am the number one enemy of YouTube. I've been kicked off 4 times, demonetized, deplatformed, benched where I can't do anything for like 48 hours. One was 7 days. If there is something you can get in trouble for, I've done it.
Oh, I've
So,
heard of companies that's happening with other companies too that try and put some of their work on there, and if they just get a little bit too risque, they drop their whole catalog. I think it happened to the Catalina collection, which is how I got into the whole YouTube thing. Was I saw some of my movies on the Catalina collection on YouTube, and it was basically the movies. And then when it would go to the sex scene, there'd be like a little cartoon of a panda, and it would say, not able to show on YouTube, and then it would go back to the other ones. And I thought, well, I loved seeing the movies on there. I thought, but I want to do it where I kind of can see the movie from beginning to end without any kind of obvious sort of little censor in the middle, and kind of clean them up, because I never really had the opportunity to clean them up when I first made them. We had like bare bones operations. We were shooting linear, so we were doing linear editing. It was on a 3/4 tape to a 3/4 submaster, and then we would send that off to the lab to make the 1-inch master and do the titles. So the most I could ever do when I was editing is a dissolve or fade to black. I could never clean up the image. I could never make it brighter. I could never make it sharper. I could never change the color to fix the color correction. If we didn't white balance in the cameras back then, what it was came out on VHS. So, I mean, I've got all my first couple of movies is like we shot with 2 cameras. It would go from one angle to another during the sex, and all of a sudden everything's yellow, and then it's nice and white balance. Then it's yellow, different angle. So that drove me nuts my entire career at Catalina, because they were like on a shoestring budget. So the fact that I'm doing them now kind of feels like, namaste for YouTube, just to kind of relive them and get them out there, so that when I'm long gone, Catalina's long gone. Catalina doesn't exist anymore. The company, Channel One, bought it, and then now everything's out of print. So I almost feel like it's my obligation to kind of get these movies on here. Now I'm working on the William Higgins stuff, now that I went through most of mine, to kind of just so that they're on there and they have like a presence, so they're not forgotten.
yeah. And a lot, well, you have a whole new, I know well, I don't know him, but I'm aware of the Catalina channel, the younger guy that has the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Man, and he's got like a whole posse. I mean, you've got a whole you've got a huge fan club.
Catalinaville got over 1 million views on his original channel before YouTube dropped it. And he had to repost it on there again. It had over 1 million views, which just blew me away. And I found all of this out during COVID, when we were stuck at home and couldn't do anything. And I said, well, I'm just going to go and start playing on YouTube and see what's out there, whatever. And that's where I kind of discovered it. I hadn't even been on YouTube before all that. And that one and Boy Band, I mean, I can't even tell you how many memes and things have been made from these certain scenes in Boy Band and the popularity of that. So that kind of just was like, that blew me away. But it kind of shows the potential at the same time, like for what you're doing, reach such a wide audience.
I get Steve Rambo's head more than anything ever.
Go figure.
It doesn't even, it has transcended genre. It doesn't matter if it's gay or straight, bi, trans, anything that's adult in the audience's mind. What they want to send is Steve Rambo's head.
Yeah, especially in Asia.
Yeah?
I love them some Steve Rambo in Asia.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I actually saw him, I guess it's about 1.5 years ago now. He came to Palm Desert, and we all met up for breakfast, and it was really, really fun, really cool.
Awesome.
He lives in Rochester, New York now, so he's long over from the movies and stuff, but living a good life. So it's always good.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so let's talk about Switchcraft. That's the reason we're here today. I love Switchcraft. I love it. That's what I told you. There's a few things like she touches his butt at the end. Now I might usually take that out of a Squeaky Clean Adult Film, but I'm not touching a frame. We're beeping some swear words, but this is the 100% Josh Eliot your transformative take
Director's G-rated cut.
on
Director's
your own work. And
Yeah, I love Switchcraft too. Switchcraft is probably one of my favorite movies, just not only to work on because we had my posse, we had Shishi and Sharon Kane and Tina Tyler, all from the Vidal series.
uh-huh.
So to bring them back after it's been a number of years and to work with them all again, it was just, Shishi, just to jump in there and not to fly all over the place with my comments, but Shishi actually hated making Switchcraft because because she was playing the Stockard Channing role from The Girl Most Likely To, right? She was playing the ugly duckling, so to say, who was being tormented by all the kids at school. And then through the witchcraft, she has all these powers to get revenge on everyone. But she hated that her makeup was really downplayed. And that was the first time she's ever kind of had downplayed makeup in any movie that she was ever in for me, or I think any other feature she's ever done for other directors. So it was kicking and screaming the whole way. But then after the movie was out and it was done and we saw how fun it was, then she warmed up to it.
That's so cool. You nailed the humor and you nailed the horror, witchcraft elements. And I bet you everyone tells you that. But you also nailed the drama. There were times I felt so bad for Edwina. Everyone is just piling on her. And maybe I'm speaking out of school. Maybe you do get a lot of compliments for the drama. But I've heard myself and from others in the last month or so a lot of comments about the horror and the comedy. And I just wanted to sneak one in there for the drama's pretty good too.
The drama's pretty good too. And it was actually a little uncomfortable because I wrote it, but once we started shooting it, it made me uncomfortable with how nasty they were actually being to Shishi's character. Especially, is it Knockworth? No, not Knockworth. Knockworth is from the Sharon Kane as. Oh, who did Sharon Kane play? Oh, Miss Challenger.
Miss Challenger.
Challenger, the gym teacher. And that whole thing wasn't even going to really be like that. It was going to be a little bit more Betty Buckley and Carrie. And the whole slap in the face is from Carrie, if you remember, where she walked up and slapped, what's her name in the face? Nancy Allen in the face. It was just such a brilliant scene in Carrie. So I wanted to recreate that for Switchcraft. But Sharon Kane, so when I went to go see her before, as we're getting to get casting the movie, and I went to go see her, and her whole head, she had chopped off all her hair. And I'm like, what have you done? So I thought, okay, she's going to become this really butch school teacher then. It was the only way. I couldn't make her like a Betty Buckley. She had to become this really butch, hard school teacher. But the lines that I wrote where she was repulsed by Shishi and so it actually, I really felt awful shooting it. And I felt even worse like watching it years later because of course, no one likes anything to do with bullying. And it's like, and even though it was essential to the plot that she had to be bullied so bad that she had to go around and kill the people, it still was uncomfortable for me as far as like, it is cutting. And I don't like to do that, but there was no way around it in this particular movie that I could come up with.
Yeah, it's the whole crux of the movie.
Yeah,
they have to,
and it had to be to the extreme in order to. Yeah,
they had to maybe they had to bully her to a point, or people don't like that word. They had to push her to a point.
They pushed her over the edge.
Yeah. The Girl Most Likely To is really good.
Did you watch it?
I have. I've never seen it until you suggested it. I watched it 2 nights ago.
And I only saw it when it was on TV in like 1974 or whatever it was. And all of that was from memory.
Oh, yeah?
I remember the girl doing like the flip-flops and she goes out the window, doing the cartwheels or whatever, or the somersaults. And I remember that. I remember Stockard Channing. I remember how mean they were, but I didn't remember a lot of the specifics of the murders or anything. But then I saw, after you told me that where it was available, I went and looked and I thought, oh my God, they have a copy for like $7.50. So I'm like totally going to purchase that copy and have one here. Yeah. And I remember being really, really good and really effective. And Joan Rivers wrote it, of all people.
I know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
She had like two small things, but that was like her first major credit. If you
Yeah,
go
I think you're right.
if you go back in her filmography, there's like a one or two like things, maybe television segments before 1973, and then she came out of the gate with this, and it was really good. And I could see the similarities. My brain, of course, the first thing I said was Dawn Davenport. I'm like, oh, she's totally being the divine.
She was made up that way. She did look like that way when she was made up, like the Dawn Davenport who didn't get her cha-cha heels
Yep,
with the
exactly.
little of the hair and everything. Yeah, she
Uh,
didn't come out looking like that. That wasn't intentional, but she did. Absolutely right. She did. Let me ask you a question about
okay.
craft. What feeling did the paper airplane murder, did it look any reminiscent to anything from you from your past, something that you've seen in the past?
Well, it probably isn't the answer you're going to suggest, but I actually wrote it down. Uh, it reminded me, well, two things reminded me of the great Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 from Sam Raimi. Probably something Hitchcock. I don't know.
Hippie Hendren in the
Okay,
birds in the
th-
attic.
there you go.
Even from the angles, even the one angle where I have the camera behind the paper airplane and it's flying right towards your mouth,
Uh-huh.
and all the angles, they were all, I kind of was going down and writing notes on the different angles, how Hitchcock shot the birds attacking Tippi Hedren. So I
Uh-huh.
wanted to kind of emulate that scene there in
I
the
ha I haven't seen the birds in a long time, but I did write down, you're not gonna be able to see this, but I did write down, feel this Miss Swallow over 20 setups.
over 20 sets of the angles of the.
Uh-huh. Because uh um you had Mrs. Swallow like from a wide close up, a medium, canted angle, a side artsy angle,
Guys.
side artsy through the books, uh multiple takes on the airplane, including airplane cam, and then all the reactions of Edwina. I was like, holy shit, you were and the it was probably my favorite, or maybe it's a tie. My other favorite or second place. I wrote down the feel this Miss Swallow. That was I thought the best for me personally. But when she is chasing Sharon Kane, they have their first little where we do two snaps, her legs and her
Oh,
arms,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
which Sharon Kane sold, and of course
Oh,
your
my.
editing and your sound effects, but all of you, everyone sold it perfectly. But after that, after the first initial snap, then we have an injured Sharon Kane chase scene. And that's what reminded me of the great Sam Raimi Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, where there was jump cuts, all these canted angles. She's warping. I guess she has witchcraft, but she's in back of her now. She's in front of her. She's
No,
like,
yeah.
and it's just so good.
Yeah. We had so much fun doing that. And Sharon is going to elevate any scene you give her. She'll
Mhm.
come out with several different versions of what I thought I wanted. And then
Uh-huh.
at the end, when you're all put together and you can use just the best pieces, it's like, I mean, my God, she just like takes everything and runs with it. I mean,
There's literally never been a bad Sharon Kane performance. She's besides there was one of your pictures that I watched that she wasn't in. But besides that, she was in basically
oh,
everything.
yeah, she's in. Yes, since I first met her, she brought her over to the house because I was doing Valley of the Bye Dolls, the takeoff of Valley of the Dolls,
Mhm.
and it was pretty much Valley of the Dolls, the movie from beginning to end for the first one. It was that whole same story, same characters, and Sharon came over because she was going to help Shishi write the theme song for it. And that's when, as soon as I saw her, because she had her blonde hair, then it was in a ponytail, and I thought, oh my God, you're my Patty Duke. You are totally my Patty Duke role. And so that's where I first met her, was working on that. But even bigger coup on that one was I was trying to get someone to take the Susan Haywood role, which is like the rival in the famous Valley of the Dolls, where Patty Duke pulls off Susan Haywood's wig and flushes it down the toilet. I didn't know who I was going to cast for that. I didn't have anyone at all. And Sharon Kane is like, I'm going to call my friend Gloria Leonard, and I'm gonna see if she'll do it. I'm like, are you kidding me, Gloria Leonard? I'm like, I'm thinking there's no way in hell she's gonna do this. And lo and behold, Sharon got Gloria Leonard, and of course, Gloria Leonard ended up winning Best Non-Sexual Role for that movie. She got the award at the Gavians, and and then of course I had to like write a scene with myself in her just to document it in the movie. So I played like this little photographer who was shooting pictures of her boyfriend to to get him busted for having sex with a guy, but just to get myself on screen with Gloria, which I never do, but I'm not letting this moment go by. I used to watch Gloria Leonard when I was 17 years old and sneaking into the Rustic Drive-In in Rhode Island to go see it was a triple X rated drive-in, believe it or not. Rustic, and we would sneak in there. My friend David, who was tall and big, would drive. We would all hide under blankets. And I used to see all the movies back then with the Richard Pacheco, who you showed me the interview of. All of the stars from those days, even Sharon Kane in Pretty Peaches, I remember seeing at that drive-in.
Yeah.
So it was all kind of like a big, for like a fan to actually meet a lot of these people and work with them was just like, for me, it was full circle.
I could imagine. Sharon Kane is one of the queens. There's only this is going to be Sharon Kane's 22nd time on Squeaky Clean Adult Films. There is only one lady above her with 24 titles, and that's Sharon Mitchell.
Of course, yeah.
So the two queens of our show. I love seeing her in anything. And I'd only seen still photography of Sharon Kane with the buzz cut. And so this was the first time I got to see her in motion.
Oh, yeah. And it's, she pulled it off. She pulled it off as the hard, gym teacher who's so into her body and into the muscles and all that. And then here comes Edwina in front of her and she can't handle it. So, but I don't know. I'm trying to remember if there's this amazing scene in this movie, which I think is one of the best scenes, where I know there's the scene in there where she's sitting in the chair and the wrestlers are taunting her, and she yells out "F you" to them, but Sharon, who's in the foreground talking to the other gym teacher, thinks she said that to her, so she turns around, goes after her, and slaps her. But the scene with the two guys taunting she, and I have to say, it's probably one of the most brilliant moments. Not that I have a lot of brilliant moments, but this one is brilliant. They weren't just saying things to her. They were saying things with the one wrestler bent over and the other guy spreading the cheeks and talking out of the hole. All the words are actually coming out in sync with as the words are being said in the XXX version. And it's classic. But I don't think I was able to keep any of that in the PG at all.
No. I've watched both cuts. I've watched well, I had to. I was like, what do I do for research when Josh has already done my job for me? And so I watched the clean cut I don't know, 4 or 5 times. But then I realized what it was is I wanted to know what the paper airplane had 2 blurred out words. And so I was like, I have to know what the blurred out words were. So I went and I found the worst version one of the worst versions I've ever seen. But I could read it, and then I just watched the whole feature.
Isn't it from the desk of Edwina Simplestein?
Yeah.
Like her letterhead. Because in the opening scene, the boy is actually writing that horrible message to Miss Swallow, the teacher.
Correct.
He thinks Edwina wrote it because it's on her letterhead.
One thing that Sonic Seduction. Tell me a little bit about them, because they've done everything you've ever done. They've been involved with not only the 3 movies that are on their show. I believe Tony Fontana is your partner, right?
That's correct. Yes.
So he wrote and directed Morewood Contractors.
Yeah.
And then which you produced and shot. But also your movies that you wrote and directed. Sonic Seduction is on every single one, and then the whole 3 trilogy that makes The Far Beyond. I see Sonic Seduction everywhere I look.
Yeah, Sonic Seduction is everywhere. Just poke your head in. You just mentioned your movie Morewood Contractor. He's gardening out here, so I'm just gonna poke his head and say hello.
Hi, Tony.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing gardening. It's a beautiful day, so I figured I might as well do a little bit of gardening.
Very nice. Very nice. I've seen you act in Boy Band, and I've seen you direct in Morewood.
I those, yes.
And we were just talking about Sonic Seduction, who did the music for all those movies.
Right.
Yeah. Well, prior to Sonic Seduction, we had Costello Presley, who was Higgins' main longtime musician. And then I think it was with Power Tool 2 that Sonic Seduction, we hired Sonic Seduction to come and score the movie. And then from there on in, he would pretty much supply us with 4 or 5 tunes per month that we could just continue using on all of our movies. So we kind of reprocess all those, but we're getting some fresh ones every month.
Okay. Very cool.
I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks.
See you, Tone.
Bye.
Okay, we are down to the 4-minute mark. Is there anything you would like to? Oh,
4.
I love your clean cut, and I liked your new. I loved the new opening and closing. The only thing I did miss was the Catalina cartwheels in the X-rated version.
Oh
how
my
it starts with the negative image of a girl doing cartwheels, and the credits are changing to the. So that
I'm
was
trying to remember where we got those. How I think they were on some. I bought like stock footage or something, and I said, "Oh, this could be cute." And they used it as like a wipe, right, in between.
Correct. Yes. It was a cartwheel wipe.
Yeah, I like the Thunder and Lightning Rainstorm better.
Oh, I like it too. I like it too. I just thought that was kind of clever. Okay, so we're down to the last couple minutes. Is there anything you would like? Well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome anytime.
I think
I'm glad you're going to show Switchcraft, and I hope it gets like a whole new audience. Because it's a fun movie.
Oh, it's a blast. It's a blast. It's what a way to kick off the 2026 All Celebrity Request March.
Do you have a little preview of who's going to be included this month?
I can tell you. I don't know.
Oh, you'll have to cut it. But tell me anyway. I'm curious.
We have you, Portia Lynn, Amber Lynn.
Wow. Well, that's a great lineup. Oh my God.
I know, it's crazy.
Pretty exciting.
I believe that's like everything. I wrote down, you've won so many awards. Best director, so many awards. Best editing, all deserved. And you even won AVNs and gay VNs when they changed the name.
Yeah, we doubled it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the 3 Bi-Dolls movies, Valley of the Bi-Dolls, Revenge of the Bi-Dolls, and Night of the Living Bi-Dolls, which I only made because they made me, because both of the other 2 had won Best Picture, Best Director. But I killed it, went off in part 2. So I made the 3rd one with them coming back as zombies, and it actually was pretty fun. And that one won too, but that's it. Bi-Dolls are over. That one, screenplay for Single White Male. Yeah, so I've been very lucky along the years. I entered into the Hall of Fame the same year as the guys from Falcon, so that was a nice little reunion of friends to get together for that, and it's been a nice, it was a good solid career that I feel like I had with Catalina, and couldn't be more grateful for them hiring me in the first place and then giving me the opportunities that I had.
Well, that's funny and a good way to end. That goes back full circle that you are a natural born filmmaker, because your first 2 parts of the Bi-Dolls trilogy win awards. They do fantastic. Everyone loves them, but you killed the cast. Catalina says, we want one more. And you know what to do. Night of the Living, you bring them right back.
Goes right to my core. Of course they're coming back as zombies. With some new characters. I think, and plus, I don't know if it was even noticeable, but, well, of course it would be. Sharon Kane, because it was part 3, Sharon Kane played 3 characters. She played Zombie Seeley, the zombie that came back from the dead that she digs up. And then she played Margot, which was a redheaded reporter. And then she played, I can't think of her name, but she had like a short Betty Boop Bob, where she was like these 2 criminals breaking into a house.